Hello and welcome to the Schapera Show, where Viv and Neil explore this big adventure called life. Our guest today is Midge Murphy, and she has written a very, very important book entitled Practice Energy Healing in Integrity, The Joy of Offering Your Gifts Legally and Ethically, which guides energy healers through the maze of legal and ethical issues facing this new profession. Welcome, Midge. Thank you for joining us on the show today.
Well, thank you, Vivian. I'm really pleased to be here and have this opportunity to share some important information with your listeners.
I'm so pleased, Midge, because I'm really excited to talk to you, and there is a good reason for that. I had a vision in the 1990s that energy healing is the way of the future, and I'm saying probably from the middle of this century onwards. And because of that, it really needs to become a viable and mainstream recognized profession. And I felt this so strongly that I actually founded a college for training professional energy healers. Ideally, I wanted it to be mainstream accredited, and that I think has turned out to be a vision for the future and something that's probably beyond my lifetime. But my point is that it's a very personally meaningful thing to see your work and to see you contributing to energy healing becoming a true profession with appropriate legal status in the eyes of both the customer as well as the accrediting bodies of training programs. So I wonder what you have to say about that, Midge.
Well, Vivian, first of all, it's very heartening for me to talk to someone like you who really understands that addressing the ethical and legal issues are actually essential to moving the field forward so that it can become more professional and more widely accepted.
Yes.
So that's the reason why I wrote the book. And as a professional risk management consultant, I've been teaching about ethics and legal principles in the practice of and training in energy healing methods for over 15 years. So I was sort of ahead of my time, and I'm the first attorney to have received a PhD in energy medicine from Holos University, and I'm also an energy healing practitioner myself. So I really consider myself like a bridge between two worlds, the world of energy healing and the world of business and law. And it's really important to understand that both licensed and non-licensed energy healing practitioners, we have to operate within the legal and regulatory framework that governs healthcare professionals.
Well, see, exactly. And Mitch, before we go any further, I want to tell you and everyone that's listening that I read your book, and as soon as I became aware of you and your work, I had something happen that was very strong, and that is that we were awarded a Best Holistic Medical Practitioner Award by the City of Blue Ash, which is where we work. And I realized when I saw that, oh my goodness, I need to attend to that because I don't want that word medical in my title. And this is because you'd alerted me, and so I quickly wrote to them and I said, you know what, please can we change it to holistic health practitioner, because I'm not licensed and I don't want to pretend to be licensed, and I don't want people to misunderstand and think that I'm some kind of doctor or other medical practitioner that does have a license. And so that was an immediate effect of me becoming aware of your work, is that you kept me safe, because something like that can come back and bite an energy healer in the butt, can't it?
Yeah, good for you. First of all, congratulations on winning that reward. That's awesome. But yeah, your instincts and perception and wanting to make sure that you were not being listed as some kind of medical practitioner was spot on. And it is a way to reduce your risk. And holistic health practitioner is a safe title to use and also reduces your potential legal liability.
You see, your book is very clear, Midge. It's very clear. And you're explaining that's how important the title is, and how there's one thing is what other people might call you, but what you are calling yourself, this is where you might want to make sure that there's absolute clarity. And you're very, very clear about this. And your book is extremely well written. I just do want to add. I mean, it was so well written. I was sitting and reading it on the plane. Now, that's not an easy environment to be reading a book. And then Neil started reading it over my shoulder, because you know what, people might think, oh, this doesn't pertain to me. But you know what, it does. Everything in life pertains to everyone. In a way, we're all one being. And so I can't just say how important this conversation actually is, whether one is a practitioner or a customer. It's important for all of us, isn't it?
Yeah, I really agree. It's a way to not only move the field forward, and when practitioners receive this kind of legal and ethics training, they become better practitioners, and so they are in better service to the people that want to come and use their services. So I think it's very synergistic, and it not only improves the field itself, but it also provides the opportunity for practitioners to be better at what they do and to be in better service to the clients that come to see them.
Exactly. And Midge, let's hear a little bit more about you. What kind of law did you study?
Well, my background is really in entertainment law, and so I practiced entertainment law in Hollywood for over a decade, and my last position was Vice President of Legal and Business Affairs for the Walt Disney Company. And I did that for quite some time, and I actually had a great time doing it, but I was just ready for something new. And then I transitioned. I've been the first in-house general counsel for Patagonia, which is an outdoor clothing company. And then I actually co-owned an adventure travel company, and that's what brought me to Eugene, Oregon, and had an opportunity to travel around the world with a lot of indigenous cultures in doing treks and those kinds of hiking trips. And so that kind of led me to moving to Eugene, Oregon, and then I got interested more in the field of complementary and alternative medicine.
And you trained, didn't you? What did you train in?
I trained in with respect to energy healing.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, well, my first experience with energy healing was really as a hospice volunteer. I was doing patient care for our major hospital here, and I did that for about 6 years, starting in the mid-'90s. And as a hospice volunteer, I had the opportunity to learn therapeutic touch. And I found that I could feel the energy. It felt natural and easy for me, which surprised me. I wasn't expecting that. And it was just flowed through me very easily in terms of being able to help people and balance energy fields. And so that really got me curious. And so I began to study the use of intuition and energy medicine with Norm Shealy and Carolyn Mace. And that led me to Holos University, where I received my PhD in energy medicine in 2001. So I sort of moved from therapeutic touch. I have been initiated as a Reiki master. I'm certified in matrix energetics. And I've always been connected to nature. And I've studied and trained for many years on Native American spirituality or shamanism. And so I work with local teachers. I've also studied for several years with the Lakota medicine man. So they just, shamanism and energy healing just resonate with me.
Fantastic, and fantastic for us that you had this background in law and that you could create this bridge and be the bridge between these two disciplines, because obviously it's sorely needed. And I think that to have a trained expert on both sides creating that bridge is a very strong bridge. And I imagine that legally speaking, complementary and alternative medicine is a very difficult field with a lot of gray areas. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's really important to sort of get a sense of where do energy healing practitioners fit into the healthcare field. And we really come under the big umbrella of complementary and alternative medicine. So there's so many different ways that CAM can be offered. So chiropractic medicine is licensed in all 50 states. There's some CAM practices that are licensed in some states and not in others here in the United States, such as acupuncture for one, naturopathic medicine, massage therapy. But really CAM is a consensus term that means everything outside of bio-Western medicine. So it includes herbology and all kinds of indigenous healing systems, as well as energy healing methods. That we fall under the umbrella of CAM. But we're completely unregulated. And except for there are some states that require those practitioners who use any kind of touch, such as therapeutic touch, which would be myself, or maybe healing touch, or Eden energy medicine, or polarity therapy, or quantum touch. There's quite a few out there. Some folks, some states require those people who use those kinds of touch methods to be licensed massage therapists. But otherwise, it's completely unregulated field at this point in time.
And it's different from state to state.
That is so true. Very true. Yeah. That's why it's really important. In my book, I really talk about all of these issues in terms of scope of practice and what kind of risk management strategies can you put into place to help reduce your potential legal liability. Because we are really sort of pioneers. We're out there. We're not accepted into the mainstream healthcare field yet. That's, of course, a lot of us are working towards that. And there's still a lot of division around that this is quackery, that, it's woo-woo. There's all kinds of negative aspects. We're still on the fringe. And so as we begin to become more professional and practitioners get this kind of training, then again, we start to be able to be more integrated into the healthcare system.
And we're talking USA, aren't we? This is USA-based, what you're talking about.
It generally is. The book is, in terms of the specific legal issues, it's definitely more based on the U.S. I would put Canada in there as well, because the Canadian system is very similar to the laws and regulations here in the United States. But the discussion around ethical principles and the areas that I talk about archetypes as being guardians of therapeutic relationships, and how do you really choose? How do you know if someone's a good candidate for energy work? You have to be very careful about the type of people you work with. All of that information in the book actually applies anywhere in the world.
And it's also important to understand the boundaries of the profession itself, isn't it? Because it doesn't matter where in the world you are, there's one thing about the kind of work we're doing in energy healing and shamanism, and that is that there's an intuitive element, and intuition knows no boundaries. And so understanding the structure and boundaries of a profession, that's applicable to the whole world. And then there's the legal aspects, and those are state by state and country by country, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important to know that with respect to non-licensed practitioners, it's important to understand what are the sort of the major legal risks that you face just because you're not licensed. And here in the United States, the two areas that you have to be mindful of is you could receive a negligence claim, which is a tort claim, and or being charged with practicing medicine or psychotherapy without a license. And these are big because you can be charged with practicing medicine or psychotherapy without a license because of two things, mainly, is what title you use, we talked a little bit about that, and or how you're describing your services. Because what's happened here in the United States, medical practice acts are very broadly construed by the court system here and by the government and by the licensing boards. So the bottom line is just about any kind of healing work that you do would be considered the practice of medicine. So it's very important not to use medical terms in describing your services, and to use a title that doesn't create the perception that you're offering any kind of licensed healthcare service. So don't call yourself any kind of a therapist if you're not licensed, for instance. So yeah, it's a slippery slope, and it's really important to understand what the laws and regulations are in your state, as well as you have to be aware of the laws and regulations of the state in which your client resides, because so many of us do energy work via distance. So that's some of the major risks, the legal risks that non-licensed practitioners face. But also, there are legal risks that licensed practitioners face who want to incorporate energy healing practices into their practice, because these energy healing methods would not be part of the standards of care or the scope of practice by virtue of any definition that's out there in terms of the licensing statute. So, for example, a psychotherapist who wanted to incorporate energy healing methods into their practice, such as maybe they wanted to do Reiki, they have to be very careful, because Reiki would not be considered the practice of psychotherapy. So they could be subject to professional discipline for using an unsubstantiated method, and or be charged with malpractice. So what we could do for someone who's like a psychotherapist who wants to use Reiki is you're not offering Reiki as a standalone method. You could use Reiki as a means to sort of balance and calm and relax the patient so that the therapeutic outcome is increased or is better with the use of something like Reiki that really kind of balances and calms someone down, makes sure they're feeling relaxed, and so the therapy goes better. So that's kind of some of the things that both licensed and non-licensed practitioners should be aware of.
And I think the training programs need to be aware of this too, because, for example, we had an Alexander Technique teachers training course, and one of our trainees at one point was actually a clinical psychologist. Well, you're not allowed to put hands on people, and the Alexander Technique is a hands-on method. Well, you're not allowed to put hands on people if you're a clinical psychologist. So she could not offer the Alexander technique to her clients that were coming for psychotherapy. She had to have essentially a separate practice and a totally different contract with the clients who wanted the Alexander technique. And I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, that's very true. And I have a lot of psychotherapists who want to move out of being psychotherapists and offer coaching, life coaching, and that's a very different activity. But yes, you have to have a completely separate practice, so there's no perception that you're using any of these energy healing methods under your license as a psychotherapist, whether you're a clinical psychologist or a licensed marriage and family therapist or a clinical social worker. There's a number of different categories of mental health professionals, so it's very important. And I think, too, it's with respect to the book and with practitioners, I do have an exam based on the book. And this is what I've done as my path of service so that practitioners can read the book, which is nice, but doesn't mean anything unless they have some kind of certificate of completion. And that's what they get if they take the exam based on the book. So it's a professional credential. It makes them look better in the eyes of their clients that are coming to see them. It also gives them the training that they desperately need in order to have more legally sound and ethical practices. And it also reflects more upon them as being more professional. So it is a professional credential. And then with respect to training organizations, I actually offer a revenue sharing program. So if the training organization makes the book and the exam part of their core curriculum that all of their students must pass and take while they're going through their certification process or training, then the training organization actually earns a commission on every single exam that one of their students purchases. And I think this is important because training organizations are not aware that they can be held legally liable for the actions of the students that they train. That's the doctrine of vicarious liability. So it also is a protective mechanism for the training organization if they know they're putting practitioners out there in the world that have had some ethics and legal training. It's really important, and it's really not being done right now.
Well, it really is an overwhelming topic for even for me that's somewhat familiar with it, and I listen to you and I get a little bit overwhelmed, and I think, oh my goodness, is it worth the bother?
Yes, I want you to take a deep breath. Yes, it is worth the bother, and it's all doable. It's just a question of, for me, I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm all about empowering them so that they can learn and grow, and instead of being afraid of the legal stuff, let's be curious and let's take a deep breath and say, I can learn this, and it's my book and the exam is a great resource for all energy healing practitioners. And that's my goal, is to get this information and this education into their hands for not only their benefit, but also for the field itself. And again, as I mentioned, also in better service to the clients that come to work with us.
And wouldn't it be great if prospective clients who want to receive energy healing could just simply look for that one credential to know that this is a bona fide, very responsible, properly trained energy healing practitioner? Because they could just look for that credential to say that they've passed that particular exam. And that's exactly what we need. And it's also a form of standardization, which is what we don't have in the profession.
We don't have any credentialing. We don't have any standardizations. And that's why the perception is it's the wild, wild west. And that's why states are moving towards wanting to regulate in some way energy healing practitioners. And so I think that with respect to consumers now, where we don't have any standards and we don't have any kind of national certification, and it's coming, I think it's definitely coming, that what would a consumer want to be looking for? And I think it's important for those folks that are interested in engaging the services of an energy healing practitioner to do their due diligence. Ask some questions. How long have you been doing this? What's your background and training? Are you certified? And then take a look at what their certification means, because there are some very legitimate, very well done certifications. And then there's others that are just fly by night. And so you just really have to do your due diligence and make sure that you're feeling good about them and you feel that they're professional and they're offering their services, they're not overstating what they can do, and that you have a good feeling about them. So due diligence is really critical right now.
Absolutely. And I think we should talk more about this and also safe harbor laws after the break. But before the break, Midge, can you just tell people again the title of your book, how they can get hold of it, and how they can find out more about you?
Yes, absolutely. So the print book and the Kindle version of the book are available on Amazon. And the PDF version of the book and the exam itself are only available on my website, which is www.midgemurphy.com.
Thank you so much, Midge. Thank you so much. I have taken a look at your website. I've looked at your book. It's all fantastic information. We will be back after the break to talk about this some more. And please, everyone, join us after the break. Thank you.
Imagine taking a journey with metaphysical teachers and spirit guides right in your own home. Well, now you can with Vivian Schapera's book, Everyday Magic. Everyday Magic helps you understand your life from new perspectives as it guides you to feel motivated to take control of your life and your future. Get Everyday Magic today at Amazon.com, or for more information, visit Schapera.com or call 513-891-8062. That's 513-891-8062.
VMware is a fresh perspective for virtualization on the cloud. Shaping the future, this all in one platform delivers virtual cloud service on any cloud. Visit our HealthyLife.net's advertiser page and click on VMware.
CrystalHealingTechniques.com is the place to learn crystal healing, and there's even some free courses and certification. CrystalHealingTechniques.com has courses from beginner to advanced, and you'll learn from a master crystal healer. Explore new and unique material as you learn from the amazing award-winning textbook, The Complete Guide to Crystal Surgery. So discover the world of healing through crystals at CrystalHealingTechniques.com. Visit CrystalHealingTechniques.com or call 513-891-8062.
If you're not in the U.S., listen up. SureTrader is one of the most trusted and reliable names in share trading. With 6-to-1 leverage and other perks, SureTrade is the best for penny stocks and day trades. To find out more, visit our advertiser page and click on the SureTrader banner.
If you like this program and you want to hear more of the Shaperas, then tune in to their YouTube channel called Crystal Surgery and Crystal Healing Techniques. There's demos, meditations, interviews, and more on their YouTube channel, Crystal Surgery and Crystal Healing Techniques. So relax, enjoy, and learn unique material as you watch the Shaperas in action. Visit today on YouTube, and remember that channel, Crystal Surgery and Crystal Healing Techniques. Do it now.
Hello and welcome back to the Schapera Show, where Viv and Neil explore this big adventure called life. We are talking today to Midge Murphy, a bridge between two worlds, and in this case, Midge is a bridge between the law and energy healing, because she's both an attorney and an energy healing practitioner. Thank you, Midge. Before the break, we got to the topic of safe harbor laws. We didn't discuss it, but I wonder if you're ready to tell us more about safe harbor laws.
Yes, absolutely. Safe harbor laws are also known as healthcare freedom laws, and they are very important to understand and take note of. They're based upon the essential healthcare ethical principle of autonomy, and that means the client's right to choose their healthcare services and providers. So what happened is some states recognize that their citizens would really like to access unlicensed alternative healing arts practitioners, but those practitioners are constantly under the threat of being charged with practicing medicine without a license. So you're not going to be thrown in jail, but you could receive a cease and desist letter from a licensing board, and most likely you would have to close your practice, and that's really unfortunate. So there are about 11 states that have currently passed safe harbor laws, and they provide that provided that the practitioner is in full compliance with the law, then they are not going to be charged with practicing medicine without a license. And so being fully in compliance, there are certain things, and this is really just common sense, certain things that practitioners cannot do, such as diagnose medical conditions. They can't perform surgery, set bones, things like tell someone to stop taking their medications or cause anyone any harm. And also, the practitioner must have a client agreement and disclosure statement that has all of the required components that are set forth out in the law, such as the theoretical basis of the energy healing methods that they offer, the practitioner's background and training in the methods that they offer, and other required disclosures, especially disclosing that they're not licensed by the state and their services are not licensed by the state. It's really critical. And then the other component is the practitioner must keep a signed copy for a minimum certain number of years of the client agreement fully signed by the client that has been engaged by that practitioner. So, for example, in California, the minimum time is 3 years. In Colorado, it's 2 years. So there's slight differences in the different components of the safe harbor law, but the underlying sort of purpose of them is to allow alternative healing arts practitioners to practice in those states without the threat of being charged with practicing medicine without a license. Now, unfortunately, what's happened in the 15 years I've been doing this work is that I may talk to someone, a potential client, who says, "Oh, I've heard about that I have one in my state," but they're not in compliance with it. And so either they're not
What do they have to do to be in compliance with it?
Well, they could read my book. That would be really helpful. So they would have to look at the law and be in compliance with the law. So they have some, in Minnesota, for example, you have to have a client bill of rights. And it's different and slightly different in those states that do offer healthcare freedom laws. So you could Google healthcare freedom laws and you could find out if there's one in your state, and then you could read the law. You can certainly access it from any computer, and that will tell you exactly what it is you're not supposed to be doing and exactly what you need to do in order to practice safely and be in compliance with the law. So all that information is available out there, and it's a question of, as a practitioner, you really do need to be aware of the laws and regulations that apply to you where you practice, and that's a critical component of having a professional practice and of reducing your potential legal liability.
And you're a consultant for this. I mean, I could call you up and I could say, "Midge, can you help me? I'm in Ohio. What I need in place." But then there's another piece of it, which I picked up from reading your book, and that is I do distance work. And so I'm working with people all over this country and also all over the world, and I need to be in compliance not only with my own state, but the state of my client. Isn't that right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think right now, with the fact that the field is completely unregulated, I draft a lot of client agreement and disclosure statements, and you always draft them specifically to the state. But the way I draft them is they're much broader in terms of how they can be protective of no matter where you're practicing. So I include very basic things that are very important around disclosures and disclaimers about your services, that you're not licensed, that these methods are considered experimental. There's a lot of things that you can do in order to reduce your potential liability. And one of them, key factors, is you need to have a legally sound and ethical client agreement and disclosure statement that's drafted specifically for you, because each practitioner is unique. And that's an important risk management strategy, along with making sure you have a website disclaimer, and that's the legal document that governs the relationship between you and visitors to your website. This is where energy healing practitioners have the most and the highest level of risk, because they use words like they call themselves a healer. And when you do that, that is absolutely considered the practicing of medicine without a license, and that's well-established law. But you may not be aware of that. And so you're innocently using a title that puts a red flag over your head. Or you say you work with clients with anxiety or depression or PTSD, and you're not a licensed psychotherapist. You have the risk right there of being charged with practicing psychotherapy without a license, because those services, those methods that you're looking at or the symptoms that you're working with are considered psychological disorders, and only licensed psychologists or psychotherapists can work with people with things like depression and PTSD and anxiety. All of those are considered psychological disorders. So it's really important. The nuances of the words and how you advertise your services to the public is critical. And this is where 95% of energy healing practitioners' websites are either in violation of licensing statutes or in violation of Federal Trade Commission rules and regulations about how they are advertising their services to the public.
Whew. Wow. I can tell you, I want to run to my website and check all the different things I say, because I have been calling myself a healer, and now I know. Not healer, but energy healing practitioner.
Very safe.
Just something different. It's a mouthful, but it's worth it. And what about potential clients, Midge? What would be a red flag on a website for a potential client?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, if they are making some kind of curative claims at all, that they can cure this, they can cure that, you're kind of looking for someone who's coming from a place of ego and not from a place of service. So you have to really be careful also about client testimonials. You see those on websites a lot, and most of those are in violation of Federal Trade Commission rules and regulations about how you can use a client endorsement or testimonial on a website. And here's sort of what some people think. There's a myth out there, well, you know, Joni came to me and she saw me, and this is what she said happened to her. And she said, oh, I had a great session, and, you know, by 3 sessions my insomnia was gone, and my back pain was gone. And some people think, well, they can say that. It's a First Amendment right. Well, no. Once it becomes a client testimonial, it's a form of advertising and rules and regulations that the Federal Trade Commission has. So, for instance, that particular testimonial would put the practitioner at risk for being charged with practicing medicine without a license because she's working with someone that says they have insomnia or back pain. Those are medical conditions. And to make any kind of curative claim, the FTC requires competent and reliable scientific proof. So there's a lot of risk out there that people are not aware of, and it's not about scaring people. It's about empowering them so that they can be more accurate about how they represent themselves to the public. And I think you're a big fan of that, and you've seen websites that you find troubling because they're obviously not being transparent in terms of how they're advertising their services.
Oh, gosh, Midge, you know so much about this, and it's such an important topic for every single one of us. I wonder if you can tell us again how people can find out more about you and find your book.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So as I said before, the print and Kindle versions of the book are available on Amazon, and the PDF version of the book and the exam are only available on my website, which is midgemurphy.com. And those training organizations that may be listening in, the revenue sharing program is also on my website, and there's information. You can contact me if you're interested in engaging that particular contract that I have to offer my book and exam to those students who are going through your training programs.
Oh, Midge, thank you so much. Firstly, thank you for coming on the show, but even more importantly, thank you for writing such an excellent book that really moves energy healing forward in the 21st century. Everyone, you have been listening to the Schapera Show, where Viv and Neil explore this big adventure called life. And after the break, Neil will be giving his report from the spirit realm. Thank you for joining us.
CrystalHealingTechniques.com is the place to learn crystal healing, and there's even some free courses and certification. CrystalHealingTechniques.com has courses from beginner to advanced, and you'll learn from a master crystal healer. Explore new and unique material as you learn from the amazing award-winning textbook, The Complete Guide to Crystal Surgery. So discover the world of healing through crystals at CrystalHealingTechniques.com. Visit CrystalHealingTechniques.com or call 513-891-8062.
Roku is like having your own video library with over 300,000 choices, and it's the best way to get Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, and so much more. There's a Roku player for every budget, so go to HealthyLife.net's advertiser page and click on the Roku banner.
If you like this program and you want to hear more of the Chaperas, then tune in to their YouTube channel called Crystal Surgery and Crystal Healing Techniques. There's demos, meditations, interviews, and more on their YouTube channel, Crystal Surgery and Crystal Healing Techniques. So relax, enjoy, and learn unique material as you watch the Chaperas in action. Visit today on YouTube, and remember that channel, Crystal Surgery and Crystal Healing Techniques. Do it now.
Discover the world's largest anti-aging organization, Life Extension. For the best information, vitamins, and supplements, you just can't beat Life Extension. To start extending your life, go to the HealthyLife.net advertiser page and click on the Life Extension banner.
There's a respected metaphysical academy that's been around for over 22 years, and it's still going strong. If you're interested in energy healing, crystal healing, developing intuition, or shamanism, then the Four Winds Academy for the Healing Arts and Sciences is exactly right for you. With in-person and online classes and full certifications, their experienced teachers work with you and take an interest in your progress. To find out more, visit fourwindsacademy.org. That's the number 4, winsacademy.org. Or call 513-891-8062.
HealthyLife.net, the positive radio network.
Hi there. Welcome back. You're listening to the Schapera Show, and I'm Neil, very pleased to be sharing with you my shamanic journeys to the spirit realm and reporting back on the guidance I receive directly from the spirits. For this journey, I'm going to the lower world to inquire about suffering. I begin in the hollowed-out tree trunk that has a portal in the floor, in the ground, not so much a hole or an opening as an energy vortex. And I slip through and immediately find myself descending in the darkness of what's like space. It's black, and in a very familiar way, I'm guiding myself down towards the lower world, which is far, far below. I soon find myself surrounded by greenery, quite dense, almost jungle-like vegetation with very tall trees, and I can barely see any sky above me. The ground seems quite moist, and there's a little river and a canoe, which I'm glad to see because I do want to be away from being inside this dense jungle. So I get into the canoe and I push myself away from the bank, and very soon I find myself in a much more open area. I'm in the canoe, and there's flat islands with reeds and grass around me. We're floating along, and I ask the spirits of the lower world, the benevolent, helping spirits that usually appear in animal form, to please come and be with me and help me understand something interesting and significant on this journey and in this place. And immediately I see a very large bird with very large wings, much bigger than anything I know in ordinary reality. And this bird takes me out of the canoe. It's actually carrying me. Its talons are around my shoulders, but not hurting me. And it takes me to a mountain where there's this enormous nest. And it says to me that this is a place of wisdom. It's just like in cartoons where one would often see in cartoons somebody going up a mountain to get wisdom from a guru or a hermit or a wise person who lived up in the mountains. So the bird is making me understand that I've come or been taken to a place of wisdom. And it asks me, what do I want to know? And what spontaneously comes to me is, I want to know why there is suffering and how to manage suffering. And the bird sort of laughs. It's more like telepathy that's coming to me than actual conversation. And the bird says, that's one of the big questions. And I say yes, because from my human point of view, suffering seems to be inherent. It seems to be built into incarnation, into physical incarnation. That bodies can get injured and hurt and sick, and there is death, and there is loss, all kinds of suffering. And the bird tells me, it's kind of joking, it says, well, that's not very original. This is what humans have been grappling with forever. And that the Buddha said to the effect that suffering is a basic part of human existence. And I say, well, if being physically incarnated with the implication of impermanence and breakdown and loss and uncertainty is all inherent, that seems to mean that suffering is inevitable. The bird says that one of the consequences is to do what we are able to do to enjoy ourselves and help others enjoy themselves. And the phrase comes to mind of eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. And the bird says, yes, it's exactly that. Eat, drink, and be merry, and help others to eat, drink, and be merry. There is, in a way, an obligation to help others enjoy themselves. The correlation is to not do things that take away from other people enjoying their lives. The question isn't really about comprehending and understanding suffering, but rather saying suffering is a given, and how do we live despite suffering? So the one thing is to really have it as our mission, and this is just really a sort of funny shorthand, to eat, drink, and be merry as best we can, and to make a point of helping others do that, and make a point of not getting in the way of other people doing that. Happiness, enjoyment, satisfaction. We should be making that a fundamental goal. And it's not frivolous. The bird emphasizes being incarnated means we are able to enjoy, be it food, be it drink, be it the pleasure of our senses, and love. Love comes into it. When it says eat, drink, and be merry, that's a shorthand for doing what is most satisfying and making one's own satisfaction and the satisfaction of others the purpose or the guiding principle of being alive. And of course there's that Rolling Stones song, I Can't Get No Satisfaction, which is the sort of anthem of humanity, certainly in 2023, as it was in 1965 when the song came out. So it's a profound statement. I can't get no satisfaction. And I've tried, and I've tried, and I've tried, and I've tried. I can't get no satisfaction. It goes without saying that the spirits communicating through the bird to me don't mean sit in your lazy boy chair, eating chocolates and drinking beer, and then waiting for death. Satisfaction can certainly include the seemingly mundane, like eating and drinking and watching TV, but it also includes the deepest spiritual satisfactions and the deepest emotional satisfactions, of which loving and experiencing love are the deepest, the highlight. And creativity, the emotional satisfaction that comes from creativity. And the challenge is to experience satisfaction despite the threat of suffering, despite actual suffering, and despite knowing that there is impermanence and everything, our lives and the lives of those we love and our possessions and our homes, will all come to an end. We should cultivate not being attached to our lives so much. So knowing that we will die and it could happen any time, we shouldn't grasp and cling to our incarnated lives. And I say to the bird that I do understand that. It is a challenge, but I do understand that. What seems to be so terrifying is loss, and particularly the potential loss of those we love. And the spirits say, yes, one of the things we must do is love and be kind to those we love wholeheartedly and take full advantage of the opportunities that we have for loving and for being kind, knowing that those opportunities are impermanent. And I ask the bird if it will take me back to the canoe so that I can see more. And I get lifted up going through the air, and the bird points to a volcano and says, look, the earth itself is changing. Everything changes. Nothing stays the same. It's a built-in fact. Instead of fighting it, we should look to find some acceptance. So much of our suffering, the bird says, and I know this is a Buddhist notion, is because of attachment. And to reduce our attachment is the same as reducing suffering. And one can't just have this as an intellectual idea. One has to develop this as a reality in our lives. The drums change, and I get called back to return up back to the middle world. And I thank the spirits for this very interesting journey on a huge, huge topic. Thank you, spirits. The journey is over. So, thank you. You've been listening to Neil of the Schapera Show, And we have to go on our break now, and when we come back, Vivian will continue with messages from crystals.
If you like this program and you want to hear more of the Chaperas, then tune in to their YouTube channel called Crystal Surgery and Crystal Healing Techniques. There's demos, meditations, interviews, and more on their YouTube channel, Crystal Surgery and Crystal Healing Techniques. So relax, enjoy, and learn unique material as you watch the Chaperas in action. Visit today on YouTube, and remember that channel, Crystal Surgery and Crystal Healing Techniques. Do it now.
You have too little time to shop. So try Farm Fresh to You. They deliver organic food the way nature intended, delivered straight to your home or office, economically. Visit our web advertiser page and click on Farm Fresh to You now.
There's a respected metaphysical academy that's been around for over 22 years, and it's still going strong. If you're interested in energy healing, crystal healing, developing intuition, or shamanism, then the Four Winds Academy for the Healing Arts and Sciences is exactly right for you. With in-person and online classes and full certifications, their experienced teachers work with you and take an interest in your progress. To find out more, visit fourwindsacademy.org. That's the number 4windsacademy.org. Or call 513-891-8062.
Get high-quality glasses, sunglasses, and prescription lenses at eyeglasses.com. Choose from over 250,000 items and 400 brands. Already have frames? Get replacement lenses. It's easy. Go to our advertiser page and click eyeglasses.com.
Where positive people and radio unite. HealthyLife.net.
Hello and welcome back to the Schapera Show. This is the part of the show where I, Vivian, speak to rocks, and believe it or not, rocks speak back to me. Today we're talking to kyanite. Kyanite is one of those stones that I have mixed feelings about. Now, don't get me wrong, I love all stones, but kyanite I've got mixed feelings about. And so there aren't many such stones. Kyanite is one of them. And when I ask myself, why do I have mixed feelings about this stone? The answer that comes into my mind is because kyanite is messy. And what could I possibly mean by this? Well, if you sort through a pile of blue kyanite, you're actually going to end up with a whole bunch of crumbly bits, flaking, and, wait for it, of all things, splinters. Because I'm attracted to crystals that I can hold in my hand and use as tools, getting splinters from my healing tool is definitely not a desirable dynamic. On the other hand, having said that, when I find a nice blue kyanite blade that is more stable and smooth, I have to admit that it is a very, very nice feeling. Blue kyanite has some very interesting properties. Firstly, kyanite is one of the few minerals that doesn't collect negativity. And I think this is because of its second fascinating property, which is that it opens and aligns chakras with the greatest of ease. In fact, kyanite is famous for this. When there is such a positive directional flow from a stone, there is no opportunity for negativity to invade. Because the whole positive-negative balance, it's like the tide. And if the tide is going out from the kyanite, then the negativity can't wash into the kyanite. That's how it works. I hope you can picture that. Now, although I tend to think that I don't like kyanite, it's not actually true. Some of my favorite tools are made of kyanite. There is an excellent crystal surgery technique that engages garnet and green kyanite. This combination can push a stuck thought out of your head by detecting the thought wave pattern in the energy field. So garnet pushes the pattern out of the energy field, and the green kyanite creates a suction effect, pulling the pattern out of the energy field, and working together, they expel the pattern. Another favorite tool is my orange kyanite wand. Most orange kyanite comes in these itty-bitty pieces that aren't easy to hold and use, but I managed to find a nice, robust piece with some heft and length. This stone taught me how to peel back layers in the energy body in order to access an earlier time, either in this lifetime or a previous one. Once the orange kyanite had shown me how this layering works and how it can be peeled back to give access, I was able to engage less rare stones to assist in this process so that my students could also follow the technique. Once I settled on kyanite as the stone of this month, I went down to my school where all the crystals are stored and took a look in the boxes of kyanite to see who wanted to talk to me. 2 little stones volunteered for the job. One is a sweet little tool with an excellent handhold and active point, and the other is a flat blade of kyanite. Let's find out what they have to say. The flat blade says, "Ha ha, you don't like me because I'm just like life itself. All kinds of layers that can get tangled and twisted, causing frustration and even pain." That's a description of life. But when the layers settle and align, then I am smooth, calm, and a thing of beauty. This is the consciousness that I carry and share. If you add blue kyanite to a chakra layout, I will inject this energy of alignment in a way that no other stone can. Also, my best talent is the way that I can work together with other stones, greatly enhancing and amplifying their effect. Wow. I tell you what, I have to admit that's true because I just experienced that dynamic. I have a palm stone that is a mixture of fuchsite, which people tend to call fuchsite, ruby, and blue kyanite. And when I infused the energy of this palm stone into my chakras, I felt something brand new from a crystal. A surge of energy went through me as if I had just drunk a caffeinated beverage, but without any jitteriness. That was remarkable. I'm trying it out on others. I've not found a stone that creates an invigorating effect quite like that. And invigorating it certainly was. I can still feel it right now as we speak. The blue kyanite with the active point has something different to say. I'm the equivalent of a rose in the plant kingdom. A rose is known for its extreme beauty and also for its thorns. Like a rose, I can prick you. And like a rose, I can stimulate your consciousness in a unique way. I affect the mind in ways that cannot be put into words. The dynamic is one of respect. If you want to truly progress in your consciousness, it is essential to do so with respect. In the same way as we handle roses and blue kyanite with respect for their thorniness, we should handle life and other people with respect for their nature. No one is all good or all bad. All people have their thorns, and all life situations have their downsides, even success. Proceeding without due respect can be downright dangerous. Humans need to learn how to have respect for nature, for others, for the planet, and very importantly, for what they don't know. I think blue kyanite is actually taking a little dig at me. I feel a little ashamed because I clearly haven't had enough respect for blue kyanite. But I'm going to change my ways. Now that I understand more, I'm definitely going to engage blue kyanite in more healing sessions and see what this amazing catalyst has to offer. As I think this, I hear blue kyanite emphasizing that it's all about the layers. It's the layers. Pay more attention to the layers. This seems a little cryptic to me, but we'll see how this pans out in application. I'm aware that one set of layers is what we are all familiar with, the layers of body, mind, and spirit, or physical, mental, and energetic. But I think blue kyanite means more than this. I will proceed with respect and see what I discover. I really, really like that blue kyanite pulled in respecting what we don't know, because this is my shtick. I'm always talking about how to harness what we don't know. What we don't know is so much bigger than what we do know. And if we can harness that bigger aspect and use the energy of what we don't know in some kind of constructive way, that makes a big, big difference. Thank you for joining us here on the Schapera Show. Thank you to Kyanite for his excellent information. Please be sure to tune in again next month as Viz and Neil explore this big adventure called life.